of us like to be connected, right? I think perhaps everybody likes to be connected, but some of us are quite sensitive to that sensation of connection with the divine, connection with guidance, this type of connection. Many of us rely on it quite a bit, and it has been quite a discovery and is a very important thing in our lives. And the issue is that it is quite common to come in and out of that connection. And that can feel very distressing, and it can feel as if you had found yourself and all of a sudden then you're lost. And for a lot of people who are in a spiritual path, they come to a spiritual path because they were in need of something. And then when they find that connection, that is a very dear thing, a very needed thing, that then when it is lacking, it is quite distressing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I remember this state very well. I remember this in and out very well, and I don't have it anymore. And it's interesting because in many ways my life hasn't changed. So what happened? And I want to talk about this because I think it might help you. So this was the misconception I was laboring under. I thought that I was connecting and disconnecting so much that I'm even starting this discussion with that notion. So the idea that there was something that was connected to me. I felt that I was connected and disconnected from this thing. And this was actually a misconception. This wasn't really true. It's not that I was connecting and disconnecting. It's that I had feelings about this that were changing. And that's what I want to talk, because the moment these feelings changed, even though I was not in that state, that we like to feel, I was all right. And then it makes all the difference in the world, because life, if you're going to live a life in this world, if you're not going to go to a monastery and become isolated from the world, then if you're going to operate in this world, the world is going to get you. Things are going to happen. You're going to have, problems, things that are going to take precedence there. Your children, if you have children, they're going to need something special there at some points. You're going to get, like I did, a new dog, and then you have to housebreak them, and then, that becomes a priority for some time. Or you have, like I had, for example, a problem with connection. I mean, like the internet connection and the way that these stream, it wouldn't be as smooth, and it kept losing a lot of frames. And so I had to deal with something that really interrupted my practice, for example, things like that. And even more serious things, you can get sick, things like that happen. And therefore you cannot really escape this. So the fact that you will come out of that state of grace, it's a given. It will happen. The difference is that we see that out of the state of grace as disconnection when it is not. And that's what I want to talk to you, because I don't just want to tell you that. I want to kind of show you or give you some more evidence and some more things to notice, and a mindset to operate under. Because it is complicated. I could have told you, as anybody could, you're always connected to God. Of course you're always connected to God, right? Oh, how come? What do you mean that you will become disconnected ever? But that doesn't help, right? Because even though you know this, you don't know this. So you don't really get it. And I got it. And I want to see if I can bring you there or closer, at least. That's the point here. And so here's what I want you to notice. I want you to notice that when you become disconnected, even though you may feel like it is some sort of random thing or it happens out of nowhere, notice that there is a practice that you do, and that the practice is the one that falls off first. Because I used to think that somehow I got disconnected and then my practice fell through. What I notice is that if the practice stays, the connection stays. And what happened was that life happened, my practice changed in some sense. Either I was not coming, or I was not coming as much as I usually would do, or when I was in my practice, my mind was in that thing, so things shifted in the practice. Then I felt disconnected, and it happens kind of fast. And then in my head, I had this confusion about what came first. And this was fairly distressing. So enough that I would think about things like, being a woman, is this related to my cycle? Oh, am I more connected at this time or less connected at that time? And although there was some sort of signal there, the reality is that it was pretty messy. I couldn't really figure it out. Oh, is it the moon? Let's track the moon, right? And then, I don't know, things like that. So I would think about, some magical thing that could have an effect. And the reality is that one day, when I was forced into doing the practice for a while, by the way, related to streaming, I realized that, hey, guess what? If I'm just practicing because I have to, after a few days, the connection will come back. And if I am practicing, the connection stays. And if life happens and my head is out, the connection still will stay if the practice is on, even though the grace may fall. And so let's separate those pieces in a second. But for now, just the main thesis, the main thing I want to bring to you is that the practice comes first. And the reason you feel the fundamental disconnect and lack of guidance and being lost and being not held is because the practice fell. It is not because the feeling of disconnection does not come first. The practice falling off comes first. You see, that's the direction. And that is a direction that is once you realize that, once you see that it is true, what I'm saying is true, if you could force yourself, which you can't, so we'll talk about that, but if you could force yourself to come back and stay in the practice, it would take a few days and you would be back to the feeling of connection. So the point here is that the first thing I want to bring to you is that it is truly within your power. It is much less random than you think. What is random is life. What is random are the reasons that drop you out of your practice. This is the part that is random because, it does happen, right? Things happen. And random or non-random, right? Do you bring it upon yourself? Do you call it? There's a thing to think about. But overall, it feels very random. It feels random enough that you can operate with it as if it came out of nowhere. But the practice is within your power. And I am not telling you here to be a disciplined person. We'll talk about this. Okay, so I'm not telling you, be disciplined. What I'm telling you is that the bringing it back is in your power. And that alone, without returning to the practice, that alone is sufficient to calm you down. So we'll talk about this as well in a second. So what I mean to say is I want you to change that feeling of disconnection, I am lost, to a feeling of, I'm on a little break. I can bring it back. It is within my power. It doesn't just happen to me and I'm completely powerless and drifting through the life without understanding anything. No, there is a power. See, I have a question. What do you mean by practice is only physical or more than physical? How do you feel guided or connected? Okay, the practice that I'm referring to is whatever practice you do that brings you that connection. So most of us that felt this sense of loss usually came to the sense of connection through some form of practice. So I'm saying, in my case, it would be meditating and then coming to meditation. For some people is to have a habit of prayer, a habit of Bible study. Whatever it is that brings you that sensation of, I am guided in this life, I am connected, I am held. Now, if you don't have that yet, then that's perhaps a conversation for the future. So this conversation, file that in your memory as something for when you have it. Because what we are looking for in a spiritual life is, many things. But one of the things that we're looking for is that sensation, that connection, that feeling of that we are not drifting, that there is a thing that holds you here that brings meaning. I want to bring to your attention the fact that the practice fell through first. That's the first thing. Your connection does not disappear before. It is the habit, I don't want to say habit. It is the fact that you're coming back to whatever it is that brought it to you. So let me just read here. Yes. So, Chemical Soup here is saying that you notice that you can get lost and disconnected when you start building thoughts over thoughts on assumptions and destroying the assumption with the mantra, I don't know, brings me back. Yes. So basically getting in your head, right? So there are many reasons to get lost or disconnected. And, for some people, they have a health problem and they don't know what causes it. And so they have low energy, high energy, low energy, high energy. And that energy, that you have to act in this world is very determining of that. And that energy feels very random. Now, is this random or not? That's a different conversation. But it does feel random. But what I want to say is you can have low energy and still be connected. You may not feel the grace. I want to separate the two things, because one thing is to say, I am guided in this world and I know what to do to access that guidance. And a separate thing to say is, I am in the grace of this guidance. I feel wonderful. Those are different things. And the feeling wonderful and feeling, the grace, this is a good word, feeling that elation that is so wonderful, that thing is much less needed than you think. It's a wonderful thing, but it is much less needed than you think. There are two pieces to it, and one of them is the connection, the knowing that something is guiding you, and the knowing that you are not drifting, and that also the knowing that there is a piece that comes with it, that it is a certain helplessness that you don't know when it happens, you don't know when that happens. That thing actually always stays. You never lose it. What you lose is the sensation of that connection, which is that elation. And the problem is that you have a sensation of helplessness, that it just happens to you. And what I want to say to you is that the practice is what fell through. Whatever it is that caused you to change, whatever thing that happened in your life that drove you out of the practice, that is the thing that drove you out of that sensation of connection. And that changes everything. And the reason why it changes everything is because when you know that if only the practice would come back, if only you were able to do the practice, then you would recover that connection, then that will bring you peace. That is a world of difference between I feel terrible and I feel disconnected. I lost whatever that was. And also, I have no idea what brings it back. I have no idea what caused it. I have no idea why it comes. I have no idea why it lives. That is a state of mind. A very different state of mind is, shit is happening in my life. I cannot be in practice. Therefore, I am disconnected. Very different mindset. Because that mindset allows you to say, you know what? Yeah, right now I feel disconnected because I am unable to maintain my practice. Why? Because things happened. Because whatever state you were in, it was your life, it was your mind, your brain, it was, some bipolar, it was some health issue, whatever it is that drove you away from the practice is keeping you away from the practice. And it's not good. It does not feel good. But it's a very big difference to not feel good and to feel lost. Those are two different things. We can feel, when you are not lost, you can take enormous amounts of not feeling good and be okay. Because there is a very big difference between feeling good and feeling bad in terms of, being all right, being physically well, being even well in your emotions, and being lost or not lost, held, not held. You see, there's a difference there. And the lack of that divine grace or that thing, that is the most distressing part. I want to bring you to the very religious people who really hold this religiosity really deep in their mind, in their heart, that they are truly religious. And that whenever something very bad happens, they always say, oh, I'm sure God has a plan for me. Or they'll say, oh, I'm sure it's for a good reason. People who say that, I'm a person that says that these days, but I was not that person. So somebody who can say that, do you see how incredible that is? Because somebody who can say, that can have this level of meaning in their life, that they can say, oh, there is something, they happen for a good reason. That person will still suffer. And they will still have problems. It's not like they're not going to have trouble in their life. But there is a difference between trouble and, oh my God, what is this? What's going to happen? I don't know. There is a different sensation between, I have to face this very hard thing, but there is a good reason for it. Or I have to face this hard thing. I don't know why it happened. I don't know what is this. I don't know why these things keep happening to me. I don't know why I attract this. I don't know how to get myself into a better place. I don't know. See, there's a very big difference. And the happening is the same. And what I want to say to those of you who have found some connection through practice, and then you lose it, because those of you who have not found it, then that's a different conversation. And for now, what I can say is try to find it. And this channel is all about this. Basically, is a whole bunch of practices and things that are going to bring you these kinds of connection. But if you already have it or had it, and then you lose it, I want to tell you this. It can seem so obvious. And you see, I'm repeating this because I know you got it. I know your brain got it. But have you got it? You see, there's a difference. Did you get it? You understand the difference, right? So this is why I'm repeating myself. I'm repeating because I'm trying to talk to something else of you, which is not your brain. Yeah, I know. But do you though? And I want you to, and how do you know this? Well, you know this when you discover it. And the discovery is now, you just heard it from me. But then you see for yourself. You experiment for yourself. And I am not saying for you to power through and come back to the practice. If you can, by all means, do it. But this is not always possible. So some of us don't have the energy or the willpower or the ability, or indeed life really did get in the way, and it is not possible. I just want you to hold back, just even if you do nothing, just hold in your mind this knowledge. Because at some point, hopefully, and I have faith that it will happen, you will go back to your practice. And then when you are back to your practice, you will feel connected. And I want to then, by that point that you are connected, notice the next time you feel disconnected. Because I'm not going to tell you that the next time you connect, you're going to realize that your practice came back first. Because sometimes the practice could be something that happened. Like, for example, I don't know, you were meditating and you were connected. Then you fell out of practice. You got disconnected. Life happened. Then you were drifting. Then you took a psychedelic, in the forest. And then that connected you again. And that brought you back to that connection. So it's not going to feel like the practice was the one that returned first, because the practice you did was a very different practice. You just did a psychedelic, which means it was a completely different input that brought this back to you. So this is going to feel very, it's not going to feel like what I'm saying is right. What I'm asking you to do is on the next cycle, once you are connected and you then disconnect, notice how it happened. And notice if it wasn't something that drove you out of whatever it is that was bringing that state. Because let's just say you took a psychedelic, you're not going to be taking a psychedelic every day. And so what happens after? Because you may have felt connected that day, but why did you then become connected? Well, you become connected because after that day, then you became more reflective, more calm, or you were doing something. And notice then, when you lose it, how that something stopped. Because the moment you realize that, the moment you realize that I am right, because I am right, just notice it's just subtle because our life changes and we connect not always in the same way and things happen and things vary. But the moment you notice that there is a practice that comes first, then the next time that you are disconnected, then you'll be like, oh, it's okay. I can come back to the practice. And then you know what is the practice that made you feel well, you remember what that was, and you're like, okay, once I have some space, I will do this again. And then the several things happen that are very good. One of them is that you don't feel lost. You just feel that you are in a hiatus. You feel that you're in a little break, which is fine. It's like, oh, okay, I am not receiving the information I had. I am not feeling the way I felt. This doesn't feel good, but it is there. It is there to be had. I'm just without the ability right now to go search for it where I know I will find it. I know I will find it. That already is enough. A person can withstand quite a long time, in fact, of no grace, if they know it has an end, if they know they can get the end, if they know where it is to be found. Very big difference in the way that you can withstand pain, And sometimes the pain is sort of important, right? So sometimes it feels like, why am I feeling this? Why am I not, right? But sometimes it's very important. Like, for example, your child needs something. And then you don't really feel bad at all because you no longer... So you see, before, even when this happened, I would feel bad, like really, really bad, because even though this was very important, what I had to take care of took precedence. The disconnection distressed me because I also felt that I was disconnected and lost and when it's going to come back and what is happening and so on. Now I feel like, oh, this very important thing needs to be taken care of. The price is my not feeling so great. I paid. I paid with no mind. See? Because it's not being lost. It's just paying a price, because sometimes life is hard and, it's okay. And that's okay. That makes a world of difference. And then the second thing that it does is that it gives you a drive to go back. Because when we get lost, what happens is that it also drives a whole cycle of getting lost, continuing to be lost. Because you lost and then life sucks and then you eat badly and then you do all the things and then everything gets worse. Well, when you realize that it can be gotten back, you can get it back by your actions that you control, going back to this, then also you want to go back there, which means you spend less time lost, which means that whenever you take care of something, you take care of something with the mindset that there is a place I need to go back to. So I will do what I need to do, but I'll do everything I can to go back. And you might also do things like go halfway, because halfway is a wonderful thing, halfway. I can't do all of the things. How about I do this little thing? And help it a little bit and see if that perhaps brings you back that connection. And so I guess this is what I had to say. And by the way, a lot of the things I have been talking about within this series of Reconnect and Return is precisely about mindset. Because that so much in life is all about mindset. But what I'm trying to do here is sort of preach at you the details of this, because everybody says, oh, you just have to be optimistic, you just have to be positive. I don't know about you. That says nothing to me. I don't relate to being told how to feel. So what I'm trying to bring to you is not a platitude of like just feel well, is a hope that you will see a pattern one day, that your practice was the thing that was bringing that which you need, that thing you came to depend on, that thing that brought you peace. For those of you that had that peace in today's conversation, that thing, it is within your power to bring it back. And that's not a platitude. I'm talking about the same thing that brought it will bring it back if you return there. Now, it does not mean that it comes back immediately. Even these days, when I go back to meditation really quickly into the state, no matter how crazy it was, no matter having stopped for a while, I'll still come back very, very quickly. But it's still, depending on the amount of havoc in my life, it can still take some days. And I'm a very impatient person, which means that even a few days was enough to destabilize me, And now I know, no. This can take 2 weeks even, but it's there to be had through the practice. The moment you see this, it's just a matter of time and effort and coming back and patience and so on. All these resources are inside of you. What is not necessarily inside of you is the ability to withstand being lost if you feel powerless about this. So here's what I'm going to do. I will let you all go, and then I'll just stay. And then for those of you who like to be on the stream, then we can have conversations and remain longer. So I'll just say, I hope this was helpful.